Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from PettyRevenge. Story 1 is by Chocolate and Shoes. Neighbor blows air horn at dog, and my brother has the sudden desire to practice his guitar on the back porch. So I've lived in this house for 2 years with my brother. The neighbors work nights and have woken us up every morning they have work. See, their driveway is 5 feet from our bedrooms. They like to take Bluetooth phone calls in their cars when they get home. I can hear these calls on the opposite side of my house, let alone 5 feet away through my bedroom wall. When I got my dog and she started deterring the phone calls by barking at them when she was outside, I kind of thought it was funny, until the neighbor guy started blowing an air horn at her. The first time I took it as a sign that I was being a bad owner and installed a dog bark deterrent outside. Thing is, the guy leaves his house to do yard work once a week and get the mail once a day. I bring her inside when I see him outside, but sometimes I don't catch her in time. The dog bark deterrent battery died earlier today too, so I'm relaxing in my living room and here comes the air horn. My brother got sick of it and felt a sudden compulsion to set up his guitar and amp on the back porch. 15 minutes into his impromptu concert, I hear yelling. I go outside and the neighbor is screaming at my brother that he's an a-hole and he already spoke to me, lie, and said that if he's outside then bring the dog inside. He and the wife who had been hovering by the door storm inside. My brother is considering practicing every afternoon when he comes home from work. It is a horrible thing to use an air horn at a dog. Dogs' ears are extremely sensitive and you can actually cause injury to their ears by using that. So yeah, this guy deserves what's coming to him, but, I have to say, I don't love hearing dogs bark. Again, most of this stuff could probably be fixed with conversation. Reddit, on the other hand, is ready to spout off with some of their own additions for this brother to play. Down in the comments by SQueen2, take notes about his phone conversations, write a song about them, have your brother play and sing the song, amplified. Underneath that we have this epic comment by Pointless Devil's Advocate. Put the lyrics to Jumper by Third Eye Blind. I wish you would take that call inside, my friend. You could install a line, talk all night in the house you're living in. And if you want peace and quiet ever again, I would understand. Yeah, okay, you guys get the idea. There were a bunch of songs posted underneath, but I think the best thing you guys can do is, like they said, you can hear every word they're saying on their phone. Write a song about it and amp it right back at them later on. And further down in the comments, somebody shared a wholesome story of their own by Cabinet OK 4838. A wholesome aside. In lockdown, we were lucky enough to find that we have 4 musical families in our street. Mine is one. We each had a concert to the street spread out over weeks. We had 2 professional singers, one is a songwriter too, and quite well known, and 2 rock bands. All the neighbors, young and old, came out and sat outside their houses. It had to be loud to play a whole street, so naturally other streets could also hear. You could hear clapping and cheers coming from outside the street too. Wonderful. And not one complaint. I actually remember there was a video that came out where people were actually doing a song and drumming and playing instruments and playing songs with each other from this massive apartment complex. I don't know where it was, but it was pretty epic to watch. This sounds pretty similar to that, but this is in a small residential town instead of a big apartment complex. Our next story is by OK Student 3292. Steal my job? Fine, but any issues you have are not my problem. So until recently, I worked at my university in an admin position. I loved the job. The boss, L, was really happy with me, but I was temporary, and when my contract came up for renewal, my friend, B, who was also an administrative assistant with permanent contract at the university, went to the dean and said, basically, that she could do everything I was doing as part of her already existing duties, so there was no need to renew my contract. I know this because B told me that she had done this because she wanted to work with L, despite L not wanting to work with B. L was just as upset about this as I was and asked the dean to reconsider. No luck. Elle and I had started a whole bunch of projects together, which we'd split the work for, but I had created the bulk of the content because Elle had other responsibilities, and I'd handled a lot of the communication with the few dozen people we had roped into helping. The same day B took over, she sent us a bunch of emails talking about the projects Elle and I had completed together, and in these emails, B presented it all as her own work with input from Elle. Elle apologized to me for B doing that and said it was inappropriate. I still had access to all the materials and had created about 80% of them entirely alone, so I very simply locked everything down. B messaged asking where the material was. I responded that as I am no longer employed by the university, I no longer have access to confidential materials, and if no one but me can access it, that's B's issue to sort out. The materials contain everything from promo pieces to email templates to spreadsheets regarding annual leave. The remaining 20% of content, which both myself and B had access to, was all fairly rough, had some typos, some incorrect dates, the wrong titles in a few places, incomplete paragraphs, minor things like that. All of which were on my list to fix because only I knew about them, and all of which B overlooked and just sent out. As a result, B had signed up lecturers for events that they are not available for. She has had to remake all of my content from scratch. She has not sent out a single email that is 100% correct. She can't get into the social media I created. She can't access the shared inbox I made. She's advertised events with the wrong time and date and content. She's behind on everything. I know all of this because Elle complains to me about it every time I see her, and I did admit all of this to Elle, as she says I'm being reasonable here. And B messages me almost daily to tell me how awful a person I am because I won't share any resources with her. It's the only reason I've not blocked B. The updates. I'm also getting regular emails from various departments and people who don't know B has taken over my job yet, asking why they've been put down to present a talk at a university on a day they'll be on another continent, or something like that. And I've just responded that this is B's job now, but everything was fine when I left, so clearly whatever happened, B needs to fix it. B now hates me, but that's not my problem either. What I don't understand is why Elle didn't send an email around and saying you didn't create any of these projects, this was created by the previous employee that I was fine with. Down in the comments by Range Money 2012. B will be leaving soon. OP says, fingers crossed. Miss Linden says, if you're looking for full-time work and B's job isn't unionized and forced to hire from within, perhaps send your dean your resume with a cover letter that says you'd be happy to meet with him regarding the upcoming vacancy in B's role. OP replied again and said, I've already been told by both Elle and another department head that if there's ever another vacancy for admin, I'm going to be the first person they contact. Because I'm not one to toot my own horn, but I'm really good at higher education administration. I have a couple years of experience doing it both at my university and another major university nearby. And honestly, if B ever calls me the C word again, I might just send the dean that email. Wasn't aware that she'd even sent you that. Now we know. The C word. One you don't say to other people in certain countries, and in other countries they use it like it's the word buddy. Our last story is by Dronectus. Steal my parking space? Enjoy the fine. Me and my girlfriend started renting an apartment in August. My girlfriend had a few weeks left of her job a city over, and due to that, my girlfriend needed a car. Since she worked late evenings, it would be almost impossible for her to find parking spaces close to our apartment past 9 p.m., since all parking spaces would be filled at about 4:30 p.m. We both decided to pay $90 a month for the parking garage under our apartment. After a few weeks, my girlfriend started working closer to home, and the need for a car disappeared. The lease wasn't up on the parking space, so we decided to use it as a reserve parking space in case friends or family came over. Since the parking space is usually empty, people have started parking in our space. We usually call parking security and they put a fine in the car. This time I chose to be nice. A blacked out BMW was parking in our space and I found out who owned it. I called them with the intention of asking them to move the car politely. The owner of the car was a 30-year-old man. I rang him up and he picked up the phone. Silence. He was silent for a solid 5 seconds before I hesitantly said, "Hello?" He responded, "Who is it?" in an annoyed voice. "Hello, my name is Dronectus." "Dronectus who? From what company?" "Oh, I'm not from a company. I just live in the same apartment complex as you, and was one—" "Go the F away!" And then he hung up his phone. I then called parking security, and 10 minutes later there was an $80 fine on his car. "Don't worry, OP, he's got a BMW, he can afford it." Fines and traffic tickets don't apply to people with BMWs. You can do whatever you want, you can speed, you can park wherever you want. As long as you got money, who cares, right? I tried calling him again to tell him there was a fine on his car and a tow truck would be there to pick it up later that evening if he didn't move the car from our spot. But when I called him up, I got a very warm and pleasant response. "Stop effing calling me!" And he hung up. Later that evening, I saw a nice blacked out BMW on the back of a towing truck. Update. One of the other times this happened, I took a photo of the car. I remembered I still had the photo, so I looked up the license plate, and turns out, same last name as the new guy, looked up this person, and they are related. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. OP, it was so kind of you to help him move his car to impound. Very sweet of you. Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have an unimpounded day.